Hello, this is Daryl.
And this is John.
And this is the Town of Orphaned Characters, a weekly podcast where we roll up characters to live in our town. Today, let's see what we make.
We are all about the crazy ideas. Last week we made a pirate bard.
A batfish pirate bard.
A batfish. I forgot about the batfish part.
Oh, how could you forget about that?
And I said I would draw fan fiction, and I did not. So I'll have to do that at some point in the future. But now it's all coming. It's rushing back into my mind. This batfish what is it? Bard, simic bard.
Bard, a simic hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she somehow had a sailor background, and everything just came up wonderful for her.
Yeah, it couldn't be better, really. I mean,
mm-hmm.
it couldn't have rolled out better, I don't think.
No, I don't think it could have. It was wonderful, like how we were discussing things like, oh, it'd be nice if she was like a pirate or something like that, and then like she got sailor.
Yeah,
the dice were listening.
Yeah, we did not plan that. I mean, you can hear us rolling the dice.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could roll up a better pirate bard batfish lady, though.
No.
You know, like that. It does, like, it's what you would choose if you were actually aiming to do that.
Mm-hmm. It really felt nicely coinciding and coherent. Not coherent. Coherent.
Yeah.
So, for our listeners who have been listening, we like to go back and visit the town and check in with what's kind of happening, because the town itself is growing as we add these characters in, you know. And we've recorded a couple of sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I think as far as our little goblin friend Sophia and Old Man Red, I think they've pretty well established. There's probably now like mud roads leading up to their houses, and they have a nice little like cross area. Sophia's making a big druidic circle or park in one section, and like that's being enclosed off. And then now we have like a boat docked on the river with like a pier coming off the side of it. This pirate lady who's like going, man, Sophia, your fence is too close to the sidewalk. You can't have that there. And
the HOA. I forgot she's the HOA.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I think as gruff as she is, the other two tolerate her and enjoy the company.
Yeah, they just kind of sigh, maybe grit their teeth a little bit and go on. I would imagine that Red probably has more of a problem with it than Sophia, like, because Red is so, ingrained in his ways. And
yeah,
what is the batfish lady's name again? It's escaping me.
Cecilia.
Cilia. Oh, Cilia.
Yeah.
Cilia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she grates on his nerves. I think because it flies in the face of what he's all about, doesn't she?
Kind of like he can appreciate her desire to like maintain order, and he likes like it's comforting for her, like somebody to take the role of like leading and making the laws, but he gets really annoyed that she like kind of flaunts it a little bit and doesn't always follow her own.
Takes it a little bit too far.
Yeah, she's kind of like a kindergarten kid.
Yeah.
Like they make the rule and then enforce it on everybody else, and then forget that they made a rule that they have to follow too.
Right.
And like they don't mean like, well, she probably does, but in the case of the kids, they don't mean to ignore the rule. They forget that it has to apply to everybody.
She conveniently forgets or conveniently disobeys her own rules.
Yeah, like
it'd be like Red, you can't dump your garbage here, and then she's like at the same time dumping her garbage there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or like she takes 2 steps to the left and then like dumps it out.
Yeah.
And Red's like,
what is the difference?
You said we couldn't dump here. She's like, no, you can't dump there.
Right. I am zoned to dump here.
I have a permission to dump here.
Yes, I have a permit. Always with the permit.
Yeah, she always says permits, and like at this point, Red and Sophia are like, a permit's some kind of magical item to them. Like they're like, if I had a permit, man, like I could do.
Does she have a printing press in her boat that she just prints off her own permits?
No, I think she just has one permit, and she just keeps like flipping it around, and
just always never lets anybody read it. She just flashes it at them.
Yeah. Um, well, and she doesn't do that often. She just does it like occasionally. There's like once or twice there's been a disagreement about planting the vegetables in the environment, and like she has like some weird kind of weeds that come from another country growing on her boat, and Sophia's like, "Don't bring that over here." And like there's this big disagreement, and then like it gets either settled by like some kind of like weird competition, probably drinking or arm wrestling, and
yeah, exactly.
or like she just finally gets tired of it and goes, "I have a writ," and then holds it up.
Well, good stuff.
Yeah, so I think they're doing really well. I'm enjoying how the town's looking. We might have, if we continue to grow in the town and with the characters, we might like lay out the town at some point. I enjoy doing that kind of thing. I've made houses for my D&D group on The Sims.
Mhm.
If you've ever played the Dragon Heist expansion, not expansion, but story source book, there's a place called Troll Skull Manor, and my D&D party ended up inheriting it as part of the game thing. And I took the layout that they give you for how it's supposed to look, and I built it into Sims.
Nice.
And turns out it's not very functional.
Yeah, I've been there.
because the only way to access the second floors where people would live is through a back staircase, and the bottom floor is like a tavern kind of area. But the only place where the privies or the bathrooms are like on the third floor.
Once you go all the way up to the third floor to pee, I can't imagine doing that. Ugh.
Yeah, pretty much. I have to go to the third floor to use the bathroom and stuff like that. And like they're both up there.
A lot of slippery stairs in the Sims house because Sims are not very clean when they don't make it. They make a bit of a mess.
But it's a really nice layout. So like I might do that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of sketch out a layout of the town as it grows bigger. Right now we only have 3 people, but that's going to change today. We're going to have a 4th person. I can't wait to see who joins us. I feel like we're constructing the Sesame Street of D&D characters.
It is starting to feel Sesame Street-ish, and that's okay, right?
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I grew up on Sesame Street.
Eventually, we will have a what is it? What's his name? The guy in the trash can.
Oh, a Grouch?
The Grouch.
Yeah.
Hang on though, before we get to the next section.
Yeah. Let's see what kind of character we get today. And I've noticed like we do a pretty good job of using the alignment and the background to kind of describe the personality. I really like that, and I can't wait to see if we do get a Grouch. Red almost was a Grouch, but he managed.
Yeah, he's not quite Grouch-like in my opinion. He's a good guy.
Yeah. He's just rough.
Yeah, the Grouch would have to be like a barbarian class or something. I don't know, or something worse than that.
I think barbarian. I could even see like a ranger.
Yeah.
Like I see a ranger, like the grouchy ranger who like lives off. And we have a lot of, aside from our bard, and I guess the cleric, not cleric, paladin. Sorry,
he's a paladin.
We're at the paladin, not a cleric. I feel like our people are kind of like offshoots of the main society. So like having a ranger would just be kind of funny because he'd like stay on the outskirts of the outskirts people.
Yeah. The outcast of the outcasts.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. Okay, so what we do each week is we each roll dice and we look at D&D Beyond. That's our main source of randomization. There's other ways to do it. We find that this is more fun for you, the listener, and for us. John does not get to see most of the results. I have control over the numbers. Well, all of the numbers.
I am not looking at Daryl's screen. I am just looking at Daryl.
Yeah, and he is lucky.
I see his reactions when he rolls a dice, and he's like, "Oh no!" I see that, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, so we are using the Magic the Gathering races, but not the backgrounds. We could sort of use that, but we find that it's harder to justify in most cases because the Ravnica backgrounds are very specific to the guilds.
Yeah, there's a lot of separate lore, right?
Yeah. Like, but some of it can make sense. Like, Gruul Anarchist is an anarchist background, essentially. But when you have something like, say, the Orzhov Syndicate explaining how a religious syndicate tries to manipulate people into giving gold for forgiveness, and then has people in debt with their souls, is a little bit harder, to say the least.
Right. That's harder to fit into a generic D&D campaign.
Yeah. So we will not be using that system. So first thing we have to do is we need to find our race. Or we can do it. We can mix it up. We can go with like a gender first.
Yeah, we could.
But I think we can go ahead, and I think it's nice to just go through the race first. So, and then we can figure out like the gender and stuff like that.
Okay.
So to do that, we have 30 options. One of us is going to roll a d10 and one will roll a d20, and we'll add that together. If we roll both ones for the 2, we'll have to roll to see if we get a 1 or a 2 on that. And particularly, I like to let John roll the 20 because then I get to see all the fun stuff before he gets to do it.
Okay. I'm ready when you are.
Okay, John, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's see what you got.
I rolled a natural 20.
Again?
Yeah. It's like,
dude,
I'll show you.
Wow. Okay.
It's the blue. Wait, there it is. The blue die.
Yeah. Okay. So John rolled another natural 20. I rolled an 8. So we have a Triton.
Oh, a Triton. Okay. What is a Triton? Tell me about a Triton.
Okay. So Tritons are long-established guardians of the deep ocean floor, and the noble Tritons have increasingly becoming higher up to the surface. So the Triton is, think Aquaman.
Okay.
Like they're beings. They build small settlements in deep ocean trenches near portals to elemental planes and other dangerous spots to protect the world from evil elementals. They entered from the elemental plane of water. They have a strong sense of duty, typically, and responsibility to prevent and deter elementals, but they're also super haughty and arrogant. They see themselves as like previous Aquamans are like Namor style characters where like,
okay,
I'm the king of the oceans, man. Pay me, tribute. Like you should be thankful for what we're doing, because they have such a rich history that nobody on the surface really knows about.
So 2 questions.
Yes.
What are their physical characteristics? And if you're saying that they're like Aquaman, are they like DC Comics Aquaman or like 70s Aquaman, or are they like Jason Momoa Aquaman?
Kind of like Jason Momoa Aquaman, the more modern take on Aquaman.
Okay, so they're like sexy, shirtless, and hairy.
Not necessarily.
Do they have lots?
You would think that they're sexy, but more the attitude of the Aquaman of.
Okay, so it's the arrogance.
Yeah, like
somewhat charismatic, out there.
Yeah,
got it.
They have they come up thinking, if they interact with people on the surface, that they have a limited understanding of the kingdoms and wars and struggles of the surface world, but they have such great history below that they want people to recognize, and they think, oh, you should, see we are the true protectors. We have done such great things, and they come up, but they're typically very kind at heart, and they want to protect other people and whatnot like that. They are. They are. Okay, here I will share with you.
Are they? What do they look like though? Are they fish people?
Yeah.
I'm asking for the sake of our audience, but I truly don't know. I haven't played a campaign where Tritons were a thing.
So Tritons physically look human. They are about humanoid size. Typically have like bluish, darker kind of skin. They have gills. They typically have webbed hands and feet and have calf fins. They are typically, at least in the impressions that we have from D&D sources, they go without leg gear.
Okay.
And they don't use any type of gloves or anything like that cover up their hands. So, and they have typically like green seaweedish hair.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a pretty good mental image now. I'm a visual person. I need those kinds of details.
Yep. And Oh, they finally gave them dark vision. Good.
They have dark vision. That's helpful. Yeah, I mean, you need to be able to see in the depths of the ocean.
Um, so yeah, they should.
Yeah.
Yeah. At one point, I think at one point they didn't have it or something like that, and I was like, wait a second, you should have this.
Okay.
So the things about the Triton is they have a +1 to strength, constitution, and charisma.
Okay.
They reach maturity about age 15 and live up to 200 years. So when we do our age, we'll start with 15 as the age that they go through.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care about what they tend to be lawful good or whatever. That's just the culture. Their culture teaches them law good to follow order and benevolence.
Oh, that's neat.
Tritons are slightly shorter than humans, averaging about 5 feet tall, and they have a swimming speed. They can breathe air and water. They can control air and water.
Makes sense.
They can cast fog cloud as with this trait at 3rd level. They can cast gust of wind, and then going on, they can cast a wall of water. And they use charisma as their spellcasting modifier. They do have dark vision because they live in the deep ocean. They can also communicate simple ideas with beasts that can breathe water. They can understand the meaning. These beasts can understand the meaning of your words, though you have no special ability to understand them in return. So, like, they can kind of talk and communicate with fish or anything that has a swimming speed.
That's neat. I would be tempted to make them, as a DM, I'd be tempted to just rule that they are also bioluminescent. I'd be tempted to do that.
I think that could be something that we can consider.
Or like a subrace that would be bioluminescent. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. They have resistance to cold damage, and they can read and write common and primordial because they are descended from the elemental planes.
Okay.
So we don't have to really roll anything on that so far. But let's go ahead and figure out the age and the gender, and then we'll do an alignment check and abilities. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, we use a simple D6 determination for gender aspects and representation. We go with agender. Male presents as feminine, masculine, feminine presents as masculine and fluid on a 1d6. So, John, I'd like you to go ahead and roll, and we will see. I like having John roll because he has a really nice box. It makes a really nice sound.
Yeah, it's great. It's got the good clickety clack.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved my playmat so my table makes that noise too.
Ooh.
I rolled a 4.
Okay,
so
feminine.
That is feminine. Okay.
So again, this is nice that she's going to be. So now we have two aquatic style.
Two aqua ladies.
Yeah, two aqua ladies going on here. Into this town, which is going to be very interesting because they both can breathe air and water.
Mm-hmm.
They can both swim. So we'll have to see how this plays out, like in a dynamic thing, because it would be a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
Moving forward with that.
Yeah, it's not something I expected at all for like half of the town to be so far
aquatic.
Half the town to be aquatic. Yeah. So like now we kind of have to just say that there's either we have a river or we have a lake. You know what I mean? Or a river connecting to a lake or something.
Yeah, I think we're going to have something like a large river connection there. I think that's what we're going to...
Like a lazy river?
Yes, something like the Mississippi or something like that, something that's fairly large.
Yeah.
As far as like width.
Got it.
As far as width goes.
Yeah.
Living in Budapest, we have the Duna going straight through the city.
Uh-huh.
And it's fairly large too, and you can build a nice city around that thing. So I think that is an easy case to go in. So now we got to figure out how old she is.
Yeah.
So she can live up to 200 years, but I don't know if we want to go quite that far. So let's go. What do you say we do something like, I don't know, 2d6?
Did you say they start at 15?
Yeah, 15, and they go up to 200 years.
Wow.
But I think something like maybe 2d6.
Okay.
And just kind of like multiply them together, or maybe not even that, depending on what we get. But yeah, probably I think multiplying them together would be good.
All right. Well, the blind. Oh, so like one times the other.
Yeah, one times the other.
Okay. Here we go. That is not going to work.
Okay.
I rolled a 1 and a 3, so she's 4 years old.
No. So she's a 1 and a 3, so she's 18.
Oh wait, how are you getting 18 from a 1 and a 3?
Base is 15.
Oh, add 15. I
Yeah.
got it. So we're just adding.
Yeah, and then we're multiplying the 1 and the 3 together. Yeah.
We're adding 3 to the 15. Okay, so she's 8. So she's fairly young.
Yeah, so she's fairly young. Okay. We're not going to do anything so much as too much character description. We can do a little bit of it, but like things like her height and weight, we're going to leave up to you, the viewer.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can probably interpret some of that from the stats if you want to.
Yeah. I think it's a good way of,
or background. Yeah.
I think that's a good way of doing that is interpret it from, and we will do that as we roll the stats. We'll kind of talk about what we perceive it as being.
Right. Yeah.
And for those, that's a great transition. For those of you who are just new to the podcast, our system for rolling. Oh, don't let me get ahead of. We should do alignment.
Oh, yeah.
Because we started doing that recently too. We don't want to tell you how to play your character, but if you would like to have like a beginning placement for like judging how this character might perceive themselves or move about in the world, which is what we will use I just forgot alignment. Sorry. Then you can do that too. But you don't have to take that as the end all be all.
You can change alignment if you want to. And we in the first episode we talked a bit about how we kind of what our feelings about alignment are.
Mm-hmm.
And you do you as far as alignment goes. If you feel like when you adopt a character, I think you're welcome to change whatever and tweak whatever you want.
Of course. So
yeah,
I'm going to roll a D10. 10 will be a reroll, and we will see what we get. Now, for sake of just simplicity, I'm just going from the player's handbook list of the 9 alignments, starting from lawful good, going down to chaotic evil.
Okay.
And so, like, things in 1, 2, 3 are in the good alignment, 4, 5, 6 are neutral, and like the higher numbers are typically evil. So let's see what we get. Well, 1, she is lawful good.
Okay.
So that's going to be very interesting considering we have a lawful evil character too, and she's also a fish person.
Oh, that's so there's going to be conflict between these two in some ways.
I think so. Like, it's going to be a very interesting dynamic of like they're both trying to pass laws or like rule setups, and one is trying to do the thing for the best of the society, and then like the other is trying to find her little loopholes that she can kind of put in there so she doesn't have to like follow completely the things and be tied down by it.
She's trying to figure out how to not break the law, but like abuse the system.
Yeah. Like
whereas as our other Triton is very much very pragmatic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Looking out for other people's interests before hers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And trying to be the best that she can be and like make sure that they follow there. So I'm glad we figured that out before we started rolling up the abilities. And for our abilities, we do use a 4d6 system, and we drop the lowest dice. I personally find that this is a good randomization, but it also prevents our heroes or our characters from being too underpowered.
Yeah.
Although sometimes they can be overpowered because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we do just roll straight and put in the numbers as they roll. We don't rearrange them to min-max or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
John, would you like to do the first one, strength?
Sure.
Okay.
Just shake the box. All right. Oh, we got a good strength here.
Oh.
6, a 6, a 5, and a 3.
Wow. So 17?
Yeah.
Whew. Okay. Let's see what we get for our dexterity. Our numbers are 5, 6, and 3, so 14. Okay. Constitution.
A 6, a 4, and a 2 with another 2. So
Okay, so 12.
Yep.
That's not bad. That's not bad at
Not
all.
terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
we would think it was bad if it was like a 9, right? That would be.
Yeah, like if it was like an 8 or something like that, that would be terrible. But a 12 isn't so bad. Like, remember, we do a baseline of like 10 is like the average person. So intelligence 16.
Wow.
5, 5, and 6, and a 2.
Okay.
Like I said, sometimes there's some high variance on 46, but it's a lot of fun either way. Okay, let's see how wise she is.
All right, wisdom. Okay, we have a 5.
Ooh.
We have a 4 and a 2 and another 2. So that means that she has got an 11.
Okay.
She's, you know what? This tracks because of her age. She's 18 and smart, but not super wise.
Can kind of even out sometimes. Yeah. Okay, so on this one, we got 4, 4, 6, 6 for charisma. So that's a 16. Again, kind of tracks. She's strong-willed, I would say, and again, the haughtiness of her culture. She's young and fairly intelligent, probably, very good into learning the histories of the deep sea, possibly from a noble family or something like that down there. So in the end, her total score is strength 18, dexterity 14, constitution 13, intelligence 16, wisdom 11, and charisma 17.
That's crazy.
I know, right? Like
those are good. That is a good to save this one, y'all. This one's the adoptable right here.
we found the first adopted one. We'll see.
Everyone's gonna want the attractive 18-year-old with good stats.
Triton, yeah. Yeah. So like again, the strength score being so high is very interesting because she did come from the deep ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So again, Aquaman style, like.
Yeah, I mean,
he doesn't have superhuman strength. He's just conditioned to be able to move under a couple atmospheres of pressure.
Yeah, so she's naturally got that strength. That makes sense to me. I mean, you need to be strong to be a good swimmer, anyways. And doing that at great depths, it tracks.
Yeah, and
it'd be weird for her to have low strength.
Yeah, and the intelligence tracks, the charisma tracks for just coming out of whatever school system or her society has.
Mm-hmm.
And being young and being strong-willed for the charisma. We sometimes, a lot of people, and we have done this before, interchange charisma with attractiveness or appearance, and it can be a little bit of both. Or charisma can be how somebody looks or is perceived, and how they can influence others with their body language and their manner of speaking and their willness.
Personality, their ability to speak and to convince people.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, and to be convincing, I'm sure everybody knows a very charismatic person who's not the smartest or not the, most trustworthy, but when they speak with such conviction that you are also.
That's starting to sound like a politician.
We're not getting into that.
We're not going into. Yeah, that's as far as we're going to take that one.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the main thing with charisma, especially with the spellcasters in D&D settings, is that it's not. A sorcerer doesn't give a fancy look and cast a spell. that might be how it looks, but he's like
Right.
forcing his perception and will onto the world, onto magic, and he exudes that through his look or his action,
Mm-hmm.
and influences there. So she might be very attractive for a Triton, but she could also have just the forceful power of will of being like, no, I'm a noble. Screw you. Follow what I say. Like,
Yeah.
we are protectors of the deep sea.
She could be very, yeah, and she could be
Mhm.
using her intelligence to be very, very silver tongued to convince people to see her perspective.
Of course, of course. Now, speaking of all this, we spoke earlier about barbarians, and that kind of fits her a little bit. Like, people think,
I mean, you're not wrong.
like, if I'm going to be fighting underwater, and I need like all that extra strength, that might be a way of doing it too. She does have the intelligence and the charisma to be a wizard or a sorcerer,
Mm-hmm.
potentially even.
I mean, this character could go in a lot of different directions, certainly.
Yeah, she could go. I don't see rogue. That doesn't really track.
No.
But
This is another character that I immediately start to think the warlock with the hexblade.
hexblade. hmm I mean, you're kind of biased there. You just really love the hexblade.
I am. I do think the hexblade is cool.
I do too.
My current warlock that I just finished the campaign with is not a hexblade, but I think that the next character I make for a campaign may be a hexblade. We'll see.
I like that. I particularly prefer sorcerers myself.
Mm-hmm.
I like being able to manipulate my magic a little bit more. I'm also a preference of small characters. I like my halflings. My halflings are always fun. Halflings and dwarves. But anyway, so to do this for our class, we each are going to roll a d12, and we're going to see what we get. And we do this to have a little bit more element of variance and choice, because yes, it would be nice if we got a thing that matched the abilities, but also at the same time, I find a very consistent thing with D12s is they roll kind of middle of the road, like on average, and that would give us a lot of like clerics or monks or fighters. So, okay, so blow on your dice. 1, 2, 3. Well, speaking of clerics, I rolled a 3.
I rolled a 4.
That's a druid.
Okay.
So that's very interesting, because both of those classes are wisdom based spellcast.
Oof.
Which, if you quickly rewind a little bit, our character does not have a strong wisdom score.
No, yeah, she has. Her wisdom is a 11. So
yeah.
But again, now let's make this. We could redo this, or we could come up with reasons why she is a cleric or a druid with the bad stats for it, because she's not a very intelligent. She's not. Well, I guess she's above average intelligent. Oh, she's very smart. So
she's very smart, but she's not very
wise.
So it's like she has factual knowledge and stuff like that, but she hasn't gained wisdom in applying it and stuff like that. But I think personally, both of these are very good for her race and kind of her stats, and the idea that they are protectors of the deep ocean. Cleric is a little bit interesting because they are champions who wield divine magic in service to a god or like an angel or something like that, or something of a higher power, an idea, a concept. And we already know what the druids are from Sophia, which would make it a very interesting dynamic of having another druid in the area, which they worship nature and the balance of like humanity and society and civilization balanced with nature, which could be something that the Triton culture has established down in the deep ocean, because there's not a lot of talk about what their cities and things look like or function like.
I imagine a deep ocean druid would be way different than a land-based druid.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like her animal forms are all like aquatic.
Yeah,
She doesn't get
totally.
all the spells are might be based more around water and functionality underneath the ocean.
Yep.
But the same thing can be said for the clerics too. Like both of these, and the clerics have a multiple divine domains, which could explain more about why she is a cleric and what god she serves. And it also could be a reason why she's coming up to the surface. She's on a crusade, or she's on a
Hmm.
emissary mission, or she's traveling and doing a pilgrimage, something like that. Actually, the more I talk about it, I think I like cleric more.
I'm liking cleric for those reasons, also because we already have a druid.
Hmm.
But I mean that we're going to end up with more than one character
Yeah,
that has the same class. That's just going to happen.
yeah,
But this early on, I'm gravitating towards cleric for a bunch of reasons.
yeah. I think we're gonna go with cleric and start out there. So to begin with, we need to choose two skills. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we each roll a d6, and we'll find out her skills.
Okay.
I have a 1.
And a 2.
So history and insight. Interesting.
Okay.
Those are the skills that she's proficient in. Both of them are wisdom, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Spellcasting, she does get spells. We'll have to choose her cantrips. We'll do that after we decide her domain. So when you are a first level cleric, you choose a domain out of knowledge, life, light, nature, tempest, trickery, or war. There's also, I think, order from Ravnica, which is more about laws and following that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's also the grave domain.
Okay. I'm thinking that this almost reminds me of where I started with my cleric Therum. He had higher wisdom because we rolled the stats or whatever.
Yeah.
He had to start pretty good starting wisdom, but I also started with pretty good dex and constitution with that character, and the idea was that he was going to be slightly tanky.
Yeah.
And he was, for especially as a grave domain cleric, he had the necromancy stuff
that really helped him out
going on. So he could take hits and then he could drain life.
Yeah, and that's really good.
So I'm not envisioning her as a grave domain cleric, but I am thinking of a smiter or somebody that is more physical, especially at her age. And
yeah, like a war or a forge.
We've already kind of talked about how she might be on a pilgrimage of some kind. So she's, yeah. So,
or possibly, considering the pilgrimage knowledge domain, she's very intelligent.
Yeah.
Searching for knowledge and protection of knowledge. So there are 10 options.
Mm-hmm.
John, I would like you to roll a d10.
Oh man, I'm nervous about this because I've played a cleric for so long. The idea of just randomly picking your domain is a little scary to me. I'm gonna roll
it. It's terrifying. Like,
yeah. Let's see what we get. I rolled a 2.
Guild of Ravnica order domain.
Order domain.
So for those of you who don't know, the domain of order is a specific domain for the Magic the Gathering setting. But unlike the potential issues around, say, some of the backgrounds, let me bring it up here real quick. The order domain is strictly that. It's a domain who is focused on the order and following justice, discipline, devotion to society and institution, and strict obedience to laws governing it. If you do play Magic the Gathering, this would be white-blue or the Azorius and Orzhov.
Yeah, there's definitely white. I was actually thinking of Boros, but you're right. It's Azorius.
Yeah, this is the idea of order is obedience to the law above everything else rather than to a specific individual or passing influence of emotion or popular rule.
Well, she is lawful good.
Yeah, and she probably has more. So in this case, she is concerned about how things are done rather than the actions are just. So following the law and obeying its edicts are critical, especially when it benefits these clerics and their deities. It establishes hierarchies, and laws need to be obeyed. So she gets the abilities of command and heroism at first level for her spells. She gains proficiency in heavy armor and proficiency in either intimidation or persuasion. And then we get to choose.
Okay, I think those both fit with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, intimidation and persuasion are charisma things, so that kind of helps.
So we get to choose for that one. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you want to roll like evens or odds?
Evens or odds. You roll. I'll say evens is persuasion.
Okay. I'm gonna roll a d6.
Yep.
And that's a 5. So we got intimidation.
She got intimidation. She uses her powers to kind of bully people. At this point, I would like to admit that this is probably going to come out a few weeks after the situations that's going on in the United States at the moment.
Yeah.
Please do not take this character to reflect any of these, because currently what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
She's very much in line with law enforcement at the moment.
Right.
And my girlfriend is snickering in the corner when she heard that. So hopefully in a few weeks when this comes out, it's not as bad and changes have been made. But at the moment, please don't infer anything political from.
Yeah, please don't. But also feel free to adopt the character and change whatever you'd like.
Yes, please. Like
change whatever you'd like.
Help make her grow and understand. Like that would be a really interesting thing, because like she does have another thing that this character has is the voice of authority. She can invoke the power of law to drive an ally to attack. If you cast a spell first level higher and target an ally with the spell, the ally can use the reaction to immediately after the spell to make a weapon attack.
Yeah.
So basically, like you can help command an ally to attack with that. So this character could very much be something that changes and grows over time.
Mm-hmm.
She could be more of the forceful police enforcement style officer at the moment, and as she grows and changes in the adventures or interactions,
or she could be a meter maid who is just very book learned and has not yet gained the experience necessary to kind of see the difference between what's lawfully correct and what is just, right? And she is young, so it kind of fits.
Yeah, and how to make those match.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so we can
and how to make like laws that fit and are just.
Right. Or when to enforce and when not to enforce, and also like it's an opportunity for a character growth arc. I think. Tremendously. I'm thinking too of I can't remember her name, but the rabbit from Zootopia.
Judy Hopps.
I think is a good analog. Yeah, Judy Hopps. So maybe more of a Judy Hopps and less of a current political situation.
Yeah, like I don't.
If we can just. Yeah, let's not draw any parallels to,
let's go to Zootopia.
What's happening in the world today. Yeah. I like Zootopia a whole lot better.
Zootopia is better. So if you're not into Zootopia, but maybe into anime or manga, Beastars.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that one.
Beastars. It's basically it's more complex Zootopia.
I've heard a lot of good things about it, and my wife really likes it. I just haven't gotten to watching it.
Yeah, so it could be something along those lines where the character, and there's really, really good character arcs in that follow the same kind of thing of being super lawful, following strict orders and hierarchies, and then breaking those molds, and then finding ways to be just and things like that. So some things that we have to do. So you can only prepare one additional spell. That's up to you each day. She's a cleric. She can do that. But she has 3 known cantrips that she cannot change. So we need to roll up her cantrips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have, I would say, 3d10s. John, you can roll 2. I'll roll 1, and we will see what we get. doubles will
Okay.
move up or down one, I think. Okay. I have a 10.
I have a 5 and a 3.
So I'm going to go with Word of Radiance and then Mending and Sacred Flame. Interesting. So Mending is a cantrip that lets somebody repair, break, or tear in an object, such as a broken chain link, 2 halves of a broken key, a torn cloak. It can't be anything that's bigger than like about a foot in dimension in any way, and it physically repairs things. It doesn't necessarily meld things. I have seen people use that to like mend a screw into a piece of wood. It can, but you're not melding the screw into the wood. You're fixing the wood and repairing the wood to enclose the screw. So you have to think about it differently if you're going to do that. She also has Sacred Flame, which is an attack spell, and like radiance comes down and hits the enemy, and that's a dex save. So like she doesn't have to worry about her wisdom.
That's a great starting cantrip for any sort of combat type of cleric.
And then Word of Radiance is a small area effect around herself, where she utters a divine word and radiance erupts from her. And again, another Constitution saving throw. Her DC check isn't going to be very high, but hopefully as she continues on, it'll be better.
I love that for an inexperienced cleric, right? She's new on the job.
Yeah.
She's writing the traffic tickets, and clerics don't write traffic tickets. Whatever clerics do that is mundane and noob-esque.
Like stopping people and like trying to like, have you heard of this god here? And like, that's another thing. She's a cleric. And there's a bunch of different gods in the D&D universe that she could follow. There's not so many for the deep races. I know this because I also have a Triton cleric in another campaign. And for him, I'm just making up gods. Well, not making up gods. I'm using Greek gods of the ocean to make up religions and religious things. But he's from the trickery domain, which is completely different. And again, I rolled him up the same way. And his whole goal is he thinks, well, as a character concept that I made with our friend Jenny Tan, is that he's named after breast implants that she's studying for breast cancer. And his whole goal is to try to convince these land people that all nipples should be free, and that he's slowly making a religion and like an emissary, because he thinks that they're just silly because they're wearing like clothes all the time over top of it, when the Tritons in his case, in his city, probably don't really do that unless they have to have armor. Like there's no reason to have the clothes.
So he is,
because they're kind of like elemental people. So
he is all about hashtag free the nipple.
Yeah, pretty much. And slowly he's making that kind of stuff. I think in this case, our young female character probably is following some kind of like natural hierarchy order of like, the small fish is eaten by the big fish, but if it's with this thing, like that kind of natural order mentality, and the laws like protect her society and her city. So when you see evil elementals or something like that, it is your job to protect them and follow the law. And she hasn't quite gotten to the age or understanding to question how to make laws just and applicable especially in the surface world. Like things like, don't like. Here's an interesting question that I just thought about. If you're an aquatic mammalian style race that's like this, and you have to use the bathroom, like, is there a law? Would there be a law against like just public urination in the deep ocean? Like you can't just like swim around.
That's a very good. The thing about it is that the ocean is basically fish pee poop soup.
Yeah.
Like there's no getting around that. In the ocean, that's just what it is. It's what you breathe. So, to them, I think peeing and pooping is more like farting than it is like it. Yeah, I mean, this is getting way into the details of things that people
Sorry
may not
about
ever
that.
consider when they talk about.
But it's important in this case because
dude, Triton's poop. The next
actually
on the next episode of our podcast, we'll take a deep dive
right into the poopy soup.
right into the Triton pee poop soup. Oh man!
But it's important to think about its cultural differences, right? So I've come over to Europe from America, and I have a different mentality of understanding many different things compared to the mentality of a lot of the Hungarians around here. This is a completely different racial and environmental law-based cleric who would come up to the surface and maybe knows that there's like an outhouse thing that people use in the surface, or like they have these things called bathrooms, but doesn't understand the purpose, or that there's a social contract. Like you don't just walk around and then just suddenly like stop and pee in the middle of the street.
Right.
Like it doesn't work the same way. So that could be another thing.
She's very much a fish out of water, you might say.
Oh God, the bad puns were floundering.
Oh man.
Oh man. But yeah, kind of like that. So like that could be another thing as you play this character and explore her aspects of law and order. It might not just be that she's, not understanding or not very convincing as a cleric. It's that on the surface, her understanding of laws and enforcing order is different. And you need to have that mentality when you play this character. So going on for that, we need to find out her background. And in this case, we are going to take away the Magic the Gathering content, simply because it is way too engaging. So with that, we have 17 options. So a D20 is fine. And John, would you please do the honors?
All right, D20. That is a 9.
Hermit, which makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Because you lived in seclusion, either in a sheltered community such as a monastery or entirely alone, which, if you think about it, a Triton city in the bottom of the ocean is probably very isolated from other Triton cities. I mean, I'm sure there's visitors and trade, but...
Or a Triton monastery of some kind. Right.
And in this case, she is the fish out of water. She's coming up from that, so she did live in seclusion from the surface world.
Right. I mean, I'm starting to have a lot of cool ideas here because we kind of touched on deities earlier, but we didn't really say what
she follows.
Like, yeah, I think if it were me choosing, right, and I'm not going to say this is what you should do, but just having this background now, I would want to say that the deity maybe is a surface deity, and it's like a sect that somehow, for some reason, worships a surface deity. And I started looking at the Forgotten Realms wiki, which might be dangerous. I don't know, might be getting too deep.
Most of the time, it's pretty good.
But there's the sun god is also the deity of order, and law and time. I don't know how to pronounce this. A monitor. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's what I would pick. I don't know what. There's like 8 different lawful good deities on the surface, but
there's a decent amount. Yeah.
The reason I wanted to bring that up is because if she's at a monastery or from a monastery, and she's on a pilgrimage, maybe part of their pilgrimage is to go to the surface, seek the sun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's probably determining a little bit too much, and so I don't want to write that into the character sheet. I'm just kind of throwing it out there.
But it's a good thing to think about, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're picking the Urion from the Abrion, like the open tome, God. God of law and knowledge. Like there's a lot that they can do with that. Yeah, so you can totally think about maybe previously some Tritons from this city or from this coast have gone up to the surface to protect people or help them and have brought back relics of this religion and has slowly built up in the city. And now that is a predominant religion.
Or a temple just randomly sunk to the bottom of the sea and they started worshiping it. Who knows? There's a lot of different ways.
Or maybe like a ship or something like that. You can feel free to do
Yeah.
that. Part of the background is you have a discovery where your character gains access to a unique and powerful discovery. The exact nature depends on the nature of your seclusion. May be a great truth about the cosmos, deities, or anything like that. But it's something that you determine with your DM about it's just your discovery and its impact on the campaign. So you have a good source of this when you take her out and into your campaign to mold that background and have her have that secret, that fact that could be part of the core history of why she is a order domain cleric. We do need to roll up an additional language for her. Oh, Jesus. Oh, goodness me. There's a lot. There's 26 that we can choose from. So if you roll a d20 and I roll a d6, we shall find out her other language.
Okay. I rolled an 8.
I rolled a 5. Infernal.
Okay. Sure.
That's a little creepy. But it might.
Right.
We don't know why she's learning Infernal, but in her monastery, maybe they teach it. Maybe they were fighting sea devils. They have to learn how to combat it, or something of that nature.
Know the language of your enemy, or something like that.
Or to root out the things. We also have the suggested characteristics to roll for, and there's actually a quirk on the Triton page that I missed, where it's a personality quirk, because they talk about how we know how we discuss that Tritons are from the deep ocean and there's probably some miscommunication. They actually talk about that a little bit in the book about Tritons, like that they struggle with the idea that they can't move easily up and down out of the water. And the changing of seasons mystifies them because they don't get changing of seasons in the ocean. But there's a personality flaw. So if you'd roll a d6, let's find out her personality quirk or flaw.
Okay.
Just as like something about her. And this might change completely what we perceive of this character.
It's a 4.
You assume that people are telling you the truth about local customs and expectations. Well, she is young. And
she's naive and she's never been to the surface before, so she just
that makes perfect sense. Like
takes everything at face value, basically.
Let me find a place to add this in here. We're going to add here.
I feel like this could lead to some very hilarious interactions with Celia.
Yes.
Because Celia would probably take advantage of that and just make up all kinds of shit. And be like, oh, we surface dwellers, we like to everyone poops in Sophia's garden.
Yeah.
And like,
and Sophia's just like, why are you doing this again? Yeah.
Why do you keep pooping on my lawn?
Yeah. I think after a few of those things, she will quickly learn that like Celia is not trustworthy.
Right.
But at the first, she's gonna like follow some of the things. Okay, so now we need to choose personality traits. 2d8. So
2d8.
So you roll 1, I'll roll 1, and we will see what we get.
I rolled a 4.
And I have a 6. So the 4 is I feel tremendous empathy for all who suffer. And then 6 is I connect everything that happens to me to a grand cosmic plan. Okay.
Oh, man.
Roll a d6 for the ideals.
Okay. 5.
Live and let live. Meddling in the affairs of others only causes trouble. So that's a little juxtaposition. I feel like for her to be a cleric of order, and she's just like live and let
Uh-huh.
live, meddling. That seems a little juxtaposed. You'll have to figure out how that plays out. For me, it sounds like she believes that if you're following the laws and the order of hierarchy, then you shouldn't bother other people in their business. You shouldn't
Yeah. Or maybe she's almost naive enough that she assumes that most people are
following the law.
doing right by the
Yeah.
law, and because she doesn't understand surface customs, she just totally assumes people are, like, I just found this nice man, and it's like this cutthroat guy who's like,
And she doesn't, unless somebody's actively she knows the law and they're actively working against it, she doesn't feel a need to mess with them or try to tell them how to do their thing, right? And again, this comes with the idea that she doesn't necessarily know what's just or fair in the law. She just knows there's a law, you follow it in this order, and once she learns it, she enforces that, but she doesn't she assumes everybody's following that until otherwise seen, maybe. Let's see what about the bond.
She's not a stupid person. She just is naive, I think, is how I'm interpreting all these stats. And
she's very intelligent. I just think that, she doesn't. She's optimistic, possibly optimistic. She believes the best in these other surface dwellers, not understanding that everybody doesn't follow the strict laws like she does in the ocean. So,
yep.
Oh, her bond is, should my discovery come to light, it could bring ruin to the world. That's intense.
That is intense.
Okay. We went from happy, naive Judy Hopps to down and dirty Spider-Man noir.
Judy Hopps with a dark secret.
Turns out rabbits eat people.
Oh no.
Okay,
yeah.
So and now we need a D6 for her flaw.
Okay, we'll roll up the flaw. 3.
The juxtaposition between her personality things is amazing. I am dogmatic in my thoughts and philosophy.
Okay.
That's really kind of funny with the live and let live mentality.
Yeah. That is really juxtaposed because I mean, I think that actually fits with everything else more than the live and let live thing. So that's something that we.
Mm-hmm. I think if you're gonna roll with this character with what we have rolled here, I think the live and let live concept applies to her understanding of social order in the deep ocean in Triton society. And dogmatic in her thoughts and philosophy is that she's very strict on the laws and the letter of it in Triton society. And so she brings that up into the surface and imposes her own social rules and laws. But at the same time is under the assumption that most people are just following the laws themselves. It's not, she's not live and let live in the sense of being in the surface and not being nosy in your neighbor. It's more live and let live. I'm not going to go actively out and affect other people if I don't have to, because they're already following the laws in Triton society.
Or the law will handle them.
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything because the law's taking care of it, so to speak. Everyone is operating within the same system.
Yeah. And then she kind of, maybe she feels more inclined to do helpful missions and quests where injustice is happening or people are breaking the law. And she's like, oh, well, now the law is being broken. I need to enforce it. And she's very dogmatic in that.
Yeah.
And strictly enforces. So if there's a cultist or something like that, she would be very hard on her. And it could also just be in her thoughts and her
I
philosophy.
think,
Might not be in how she.
yeah, yeah. And I think another way you could apply that is maybe she's the type of person who assumes that once someone has paid for their crimes, paid their fines, or paid their dues to society in whatever way, that they can walk free totally, and assumes that they will do no wrong ever again.
Yeah.
So she's not the kind of person who looks at a criminal history and says that person's going to
Do something.
to be a bad actor. She naively, or maybe to her own credit, and it just depends on whatever character she's interacting with, but she believes that once a person has paid for their crimes, either done their time in prison, paid their fines, or
whatever, yeah,
done their community service, that live and let live, they have atoned for their transgressions. So now they no harm, no foul, so to speak.
And in her dogmatic ways, it's more about the philosophy of the justice and the system, not so much enforcing it. It's that the law is right. You should follow the law. She's not dogmatic in policing people or like investigating and things like that, but more so in like her own rigid thinking and rigid philosophy and outlook on life, like that it is the rule of law. We should be following the rule.
Yeah.
Laws are here to protect and make society function, and if people would follow them more often, society would be better, generally speaking. And that she's stuck in that mindset. So it's not speaking more about it. It's not as juxtaposed, and it's not as conflicting as it first appeared.
There are ways you can make it work. You just have to be able to give it that context.
Yeah, you also have to kind of critically think about how she's interpreting it. And I feel like this makes her very deep.
This is a deep character. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of, again,
more ocean puns.
Whew, it's frigid. No, again, with these past two characters that we've done, the play and interaction and character development in the backstory and in mentality is very strong. Same with Red. Red was good. Sophia we're a little light on, but that's okay. She's a very clean slate for you to use going in. So the last thing we need to do is give this character a name.
Oh, let's pull up the auto generator because I have no idea.
Yeah. Ooh, I just hit randomize and I got twice, and I got Tilda as one of them, and I kind of like Tilda the Triton.
Tilda the Triton. See, I'm leaning towards maybe something that is a play off of Judy Hopps.
Oh, okay.
And I want to name her like Trudy Flops, or you know what I mean? Just because.
Yeah.
So what is the water equivalent of hops?
Splash.
It'd be like plops, splash, Judy Plop, Trudy Plops. Oh man, splash. Yeah.
It does nothing. Splat.
Again, the fantasy name generator is failing me. It does not have a Triton.
Let's think about this for a second.
It has.
Let's find.
Does it have merfolk? Can I go for merfolk names? Mermaid/merman names.
Yeah. Try something like that. Let's see.
Let's do that.
As far as the Tritons go in the thing, female names are like most Triton names have 2 or 3 syllables. Most females end in an N. So like Florian, Otean, Shalvian, a lot of YNs in this. They want to make it fancy. But I'm thinking...
I see a few here that I like. What have you got?
I'm just trying to think of more puns that we can use.
Yeah, I know.
Like we want onomatopoeias. So bloop, splash, spray, sprinkle, dribble, drizzle. Those are just some of the onomatopoeias that we could do.
Spray isn't terrible.
Do you have any good S names?
In
your generation?
No. Let me read you the names I have here that I like, though.
Okay.
Aquina, Narissa,
Aquina,
Lena,
Narissa.
Nebula, and Amara. Those are some names that I like. I'm going to click it again here.
Alina.
Misty. Misty Spray.
Would not making her a stripper. That's not a name that we're going to use.
Misty Plops.
Well, it's Misty Plops now.
We can't do Misty Plops. With 2 P's. Plops.
Misty Blops.
Misty Blops. Oh, no. Plop is just not watery in a plop. Just so many poop jokes. Oh God.
Oh, going back to the poop soup.
You need to just put, like, at the end of the episode, just as an Easter egg, like, give it like a 30-second pause, no sound, and have us be like, we can't name her Misty Plop. Oh man.
No, that's going straight in the middle of the episode. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna put this right after the poop soup.
Oh no, poop soup. Oh,
you can tell it's early morning and late night for both of us.
Yes, I'm getting silly.
Yeah.
I don't see an S name here.
That's okay. That's okay.
Also, we already have Cilia, so
yeah,
I'm kind of straying away from S in my head.
Okay. Yeah. I like Misty. Misty's good.
Misty Splash.
No. Melody is nice too.
Misty is yeah.
Melody Paddle.
Melody no, please no.
Why?
This is the hardest time we've had picking a name. I think because we really want it to be thematic.
Yeah.
And it's not happening.
No, because anything that is like ocean based or like sound effect that is just awkward sounding.
Yeah.
like stroke. We can't that's a swimming thing, but we can't use like Misty Stroke.
Stroke. No. I think we need to just move away from the analog to Judy Hopps. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work. I think Misty's great. I think Melody's also really good. I think you had like one that was like a Aurora or something along that Aurora.
A Nebula, and then Alert. No, that wasn't it.
Yeah.
Can I go back?
No, probably not.
No, it's not. Let me go back. Dang.
Yeah, it's okay. I think let's just go with Misty. It's a simple.
All right.
Like it invokes Pokemon. It invokes like just like water aspects. It's nice. It's simple. It's kind of clean. I think Misty is fine for this.
All right, Misty the Triton.
And then you can give her like a title, something like that. Funny enough, there's no female Triton pictures available on D&D Beyond. Like, there's no official.
Interesting.
There's no official female.
There has to be fan art, though.
I'm sure there is. Actually, going back to
there's tons of fan art.
Going back to my question about like my previous cleric who wants all the surface trails to walk around without tops on. Me and Jenny Tan had a conversation about that, and the question was, do Tritons and aquatic aspect people who live their lives mostly in water like this have nipples? Do they have a purpose for that? Like, and
yeah, do they have mammaries?
That is.
Are they mammals? I mean, sea cows do, right?
Yeah. And whales do. Yeah.
Manatee do and whales do, but not the way that humans do. They're not flopping around in the wind, so to speak.
Yeah. So So we're not going to go into that. That's a whole metaphysical.
Yeah, maybe cut that joke out.
But again, we aren't necessarily meant to be for the younger audience, but these are concepts and things you need to take in consideration when you make you don't have to go super into it, but it's something that you need to be considerate of when you are making a world build for a movie or a book or things like that, that these are questions and considerations that you need to have in the back of your mind at some point. Just jot it down.
Yeah, I think having a good idea of what the physiology is in your world makes a lot of sense. Because I see interpretations here from like just a blue elf to like a sort of classic 50s science fiction fish man.
Yeah.
And everything in between. Most of them are sort of an elf with sort of webbed fins for ears.
Yeah,
which I love. That's just a thing I like.
I think so. Yeah, so that's something very important, and you need to discuss it with your DM to consider these things and ask and kind of find out how ground in physics, known physics, or our physics, is his world. Because some DMs play very realistic and highly deadly, and then some skew towards the rule of cool. And if you want to do something like that, then that's the way it goes. So this is our disclaimer to talk to your DM, find out what they were building. If you are the DM, consider these things. They might come up. You never know. And be consistent.
Because suddenly you might roll an effect where all the party member are deafened, but then your Triton raises their hand and says, well, I don't have ears. You know? And so, I've got fins or whatever. And you're like, well, you're still deafened based on the rules, even though you don't
technically have this thing.
Have the same ear organs that everyone else does. I think for my rule, personally, I prefer rule of cool.
Yeah.
And I would tend to say something like, well, it's totally fine with me if we can just say that Tritons are more biologically diverse than humans are, and so they can range from having legs to having tails.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it depends on if you're using merfolk or marrows in your game, which are distinct different races and classes of monsters. And if you're using something like the Kuatoa in the Underdark, which are actual fish people and are still take on a very lot of the fish aspects. So they have no eyelids, they look like fish and whatnot like that. And they're sea elves, so you don't want to mix too much in the elf aspect. You want to keep more of the plane of elementals. So there's a lot of you got to kind of structure your things in such a way, like what diversifies them. We could do a whole episode of just like considerations of racial diversity and making your analogies fit and consistent. I think.
Do we want to say what the specifics of Misty's physiology are, or do we want to leave that up to just interpretation of the listeners?
I think we really need to let the listeners and the DMs decide. She's definitely going to have most of her clothes and outfits are probably going to have no shoes or greaves. Nothing that covers up her thighs, probably more skirts and dresses, because pants are weird in the water. It's not something more flowy typically that she's used to. Even though she can wear heavy plate mail and armor, you'll mostly see that as like covering the torso and the growing areas and nothing below like the knees. So take that into consideration. And then as aspects come up, like covering her gills with something maybe, or to keep them wet, or to help them close on the surface, might be something that you consider. But I don't think we need to dictate too much about her style and aspects, because that's going to be, again, something in your play group. We'll kind of hint at it, and maybe we specify like, oh, she doesn't wear bracelets or anything like that because she has fins that go down her forearms.
Yeah.
And maybe in your game, you're like, no, I want her to have some really cool, badass gloves. Well, then she doesn't have fins there, or the fins can fold down and accommodate gloves.
Yeah. Gonna like stipulate what the shape of her ears are and that kind of stuff. That's just we'll leave that. I'd love to see some fan art.
Yeah.
And I might draw some myself, but I said that about the character we did last week, and I didn't do it.
Well, now you can have a reason to. Now you can have a juxtaposition of a batfish woman who was an elf and then for some reason has gotten aquatic abilities and is immersing herself into like the ocean, and then somebody who's coming from the ocean and coming up to the surface. And we have really these nice two.
Gosh, these two characters are so juxtaposed, aren't they? They're both,
lawful based, manipulative. One's for using the law for her benefit. One's for using the law for the benefit of society. One, like as a bard, is kind of flaunting the laws, and the other one is trying to establish the order. One is coming from the surface and heading towards the ocean. One is coming from the ocean and heading towards the surface. Yeah, there's a really cool opposite sides of the coin thing going on with these two characters in these 2 weeks, which I'm very excited about. And I can't wait to hear how people take these characters and bring them out. We'll have to consider next week at the beginning what Misty's going to do for her house. Or do you want to do that tonight? I feel like we've gone over quite a bit, so
I think we can leave that to next time. I'd like to think about it actually, because I really don't have any idea what kind of dwelling maybe. I mean, we already have one of them above water, so maybe she's underwater, and that's really all I'd like to say is maybe she's underwater.
So you can also find both me and John on social media. You can find me on most cases at Raging Cajun Studio. That's all in one. And in some cases, it's not even like separated that well. So,
and you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, as Jonicus with a 0 instead of an O.
And thank you all for listening. I hope you had a good time. See you on the next podcast.